Good evening and welcome to the Greenfield Public Schools School Committee meeting for Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. This meeting is being recorded by Greenfield Community Television. If any other persons are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. Okay. Secretary Deneve, will you call the roll?
Yes. Chair Johnson-Musad.
Here.
Vice Chair Sexton.
Here.
Secretary Deneve, I'm here. Member Goodwin.
Here.
Member Childs.
Here.
Mayor DeSorger. I see you. You're
We
muted,
can hear
but
you,
I
Mayor,
see
if you
you.
want to. Oh. Do you want to say here, Mayor? Can you hear us? Seems like the mayor can't hear us, but other people in the chat report they can hear us, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've heard from the mayor. And Member Martini? Okay, all present and accounted for except for Member Martini. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll move on to public comment, and the secretary has the list. I can bring that to.
Ginny says that she cannot hear us.
Oh, that's it.
I just unmuted. Can people hear us now?
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, Susan's here. Solved. Oh, yes.
Good evening. My name is Ian Deegan, and I live at 16 Lovers Lane. I am a 6th grade student at Greenfield Middle School. I have known Mrs. Patno since I was 5 years old. She has been very kind, caring, and welcoming, and is always concerned about my well-being. In her current role as superintendent, she is forced on what I need to learn and what my school needs to support that learning. She knows what is best for all Greenfield students. Please support her vision and work for Greenfield Public Schools. Thank you.
Sam and then Marguerite.
Good evening. My name is Sean Deegan, and I also live at 16 Lovers Lane. I am a third grade student at Fort Connors Elementary School. I have known Mrs. Patno since I started kindergarten. She always has a smile and a hug. As our superintendent, she knows what the students of Greenfield need. She has a vision for Greenfield Public Schools and should be a part of designing our future. Please support her in her work. Thank you.
Hi, Marguerite Rancourt, Greenfield. I'm here as a 4th grade teacher from Four Corners, and I thought I was just going to talk about a real asset we have in our 4th graders. And I was going to talk about my 26 4th graders that are amazing human beings. They're hardworking, they're resilient, they're compassionate, and they had to have a lot to deal with this year. They went from being in a class of 16 to a class of 26, and they're thriving. And I'm amazed by them. And that's the same for Miss Murdoch's class, 26 kids. It's a lot. And they're thriving, and they're amazing. And then I got to meet some 4th graders from the other schools because I was backstage at the Susical. More amazing 4th graders. And then I did backstage at the All Band. I met more amazing 4th graders. And I could tell you their names, and I met some of their families. And they're amazing. And we need to take care of them. And right now, we're in flux and we don't know what's happening. They think they're gonna stay in their elementary school. Maybe they're gonna go to the middle school. I don't know, but I'm imploring you to think about all of those 4th graders that I love with all my heart. The ones I've just met, the ones that are in my class. They deserve to know what's happening to them. And we probably should have known months ago, because whatever happens, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle to figure out. So I'm asking you to think about those 4th graders that I love and care about, and they have worked themselves silly to learn this year. I could not be more proud of them. And they need to know what's happening. And I would like it to be decided tonight so we can get this ball rolling. Thank you.
My name is Ann Valentine, and I reside in Hatfield. I am presently completing my 32nd year as an educator here in Greenfield. In these past 32 years, I have worn many hats. I was a resident. My children attended the schools. When I moved, I choiced my children into Greenfield. I even coached a little field hockey. Over the past 32 years, I have seen as well as participated in many ups and downs here in the Greenfield school system. I'm probably one of the few who are still here who experienced the first shuffling and closings of buildings in 2007. I was a fifth grade teacher at Newton. In late March, we fifth grade teachers were told that we'd be moving to the middle school. There was no prior discussion. There were no surveys that were done. We were just told to start packing. Needless to say, this was a very stressful and anxious time for the staff as well as the students. No one really knew how to go about moving 6 classrooms in a non-chaotic way with little time. As the teacher trying to pack up my room and figure out what I might not need for the next 3 months was a challenge. For those of you who know me, I'm a pack rat, like many teachers are. I had put 14 years in at Newton, and by that time, it was really difficult on the students watching their classroom being dismantled. We packed boxes, put them in the hall for custodians to move over to the middle school to be put in the mini gym until location to where the fifth grade classes might be placed. The reason why I am bringing this up to you at this time, it's my understanding that a new ad hoc committee is going to be formed to study the redistricting once again. Besides being an educator here for the past 32 years, I have also been the union president for about 10. Recently, I've received many emails, text messages, as well as personal stops in the halls and at meetings from staff, asking me, am I going to have my job next year? Is my position going to be here next year? I have to be honest with them, I don't know. Many people assume that I have that knowledge. I don't. Not many of us have any of that knowledge yet, because things have not yet been solidified. I wanted to share with you what I went through in 2007, as well as 2008, when the district then brought up the 4th grade to the middle school. At that point, many families started to leave, most choiced out due to the uncertainty of what was going on in the district. Families and staff do much better when things are stable as well as predictable. We lost many children in those years. As you all may know, students who choice out rarely, if ever, come back. My request, as someone who's experienced the upheaval in 2007 and 2008, seeing our district struggle with the closings and movings, please put these decisions on hold. The variables are changing. They are different from where they were before. You know that there's going to be some changes happening to our educational foundations in the very near future. Having a stable school system can allow informed decisions to be made carefully. It's getting too late in the school year to be making these decisions right now. Please try and hold off this decision for a year. Thank you.
My name is Jessica Pollock. I am a Greenfield resident, a homeowner, taxpayer, Greenfield high school employee, and parent of a 3rd grader in the Greenfield Public Schools. For nearly 25 years, I've been a Greenfield City employee, and I've worked at GHS for the past 15 years. I have worked under several mayors, including the first, a couple of town department heads, 4 superintendents, and 5 principals. I've seen leadership that works and leadership that fails. I understand the roles and responsibilities for the different positions in our city and how difficult it is to manage a department and a city of our size. I'm here tonight to express my concern about what I've seen happening at recent school committee meetings in regards to the budget and redistricting. Superintendent Patnode is a veteran educator with 25 years experience in education on all levels, from classroom teacher to principal to assistant superintendent and now to superintendent. She has 2 master's degrees, including one specifically in public school administration. If you ask anyone who has worked under Superintendent Patnode or any student who has had her in their life, they will tell you that she is truly a remarkable leader. She is smart, compassionate, unbelievably dedicated, has incredible management skills, and is deeply devoted to our community, a community where she lives herself. Ms. Patnode has a rare talent that we are fortunate to have leading our school district. Yet what I have witnessed at these meetings is Ms. Patnode's leadership being questioned and undermined. She is more than qualified to make difficult budgetary decisions, which we all know need to happen. She is thoughtful and deliberate in how she communicates to staff and families when changes need to occur, unlike the sudden and unsettling proposals to alter the redistricting plan and possibly close Greenfield Middle School that Mayor DeSorger has recently made. With respect, Mayor, the way you have introduced potential budget cuts to the schools and proposed large-scale redistricting without input from those who would be impacted is irresponsible. Your approach has been destabilizing to our school community, and I fear that we may lose excellent educators and families may choose to send their children to other districts because our city appears disorganized. I urge you all to give Ms. Patnode the ability to lead in the way that is most beneficial for our community, our students, our family, and the staff of GPS. While none of us look forward to budget cuts, I feel confident in Superintendent Patnode's ability to include all stakeholders in the decision-making process and ultimately make the hard choices in a way that causes the least amount of damage to our schools and community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric Leeper. I'm here from the high school. I'm an English teacher. I'm also the boys soccer coach. I'm a drama club director. I'm the class advisor for the juniors. I do the trivia team. I do a lot of things there. And I'm also a PhD candidate at UMass Amherst. So I work a lot, and I do a lot specifically because I think about these kids in the school most of my day. I care a lot about what goes on here. I'm not originally from Greenfield. I'm from Chicopee. But since I got to Greenfield, I have felt very welcomed by this community. The parents are amazing. The kids that I work with are incredible, Shane and Nate being 2 of them. I love a lot of my coworkers. I get along really good with them. I think there's a lot of really awesome things that happen in this district. Frankly, I wish that I was taught the way that a lot of the teachers in this district teach. I don't regret the education I got, but I appreciate a lot of the education that happens in this district. And I know there's a lot of teachers here that work really, really, really difficult hours and put in a lot of work. And it kind of just does not feel like the community sees a lot of that. And I don't feel like the perception of the schools is what it should be based on the way that we do a lot of the things in this district. We had a wrap party for the play, which we had over the weekend, which was incredible, if anyone saw it. And while I was getting some food for the wrap party and while I was at Big Y, someone was asking me like what I had going on. And I mentioned that I was with the high school, and this person just kind of goes like, "Ugh, Greenfield High School." And like, that really sucks to hear when you're someone who puts in a lot of work in this district. And it feels like there's this perception of our schools from people who don't know what goes on in the schools. And I'm here to say that I put my support behind Superintendent Patnode because I wouldn't be here without her taking a chance on me in this district. And I think I've tried to work really hard to honor that. And I know that she knows what these schools are like. It's not just that she knows like, oh, the buildings and like this is the schedule and all that. Like, she knows the kids, she knows the teachers. She's our representative in this district, and I do believe she's doing the best possible job she can given the situations of the country we're in. And I just think she's someone, and so is Mr. Sullivan, who really understand what is in our district, and they understand like everything that goes on with like where a teacher's placed. Like these are real lives that are involved, and teachers who work a lot, and it's like it's difficult when you don't know what it's going to be next year to really put in your best work. And I know I kind of want to just put that out there that I believe these two really believe that they know what's going on. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rose Skurloff. I live on Linden Avenue. I teach 5th grade math and science at the middle school. And in wake of the uncertainty on where 5th grade is going and the possibility that 5th grade is going to stay, I really wanted to speak and voice for the families. Similar to what Eric was saying, I think there's a lot of negative perceptions around what 5th grade is like at the middle school. This is my first year teaching 5th grade. I've taught 8th grade in the past. I was a math interventionist. And in all of my years of teaching, this is the first year of teaching where I look forward to going to school every day. I look forward to waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, which most people don't. And I just am excited and invigorated, and I cannot wait to work with the kids, to see them, to talk to them, to offer them support. And we work really, really hard as a 5th grade team to make sure that all students are heard, that they are cared for, and that they get what they need. And I just love what we do. Like today we were taking sugar cubes in a container to show weathering and erosion in science, and we were playing Jump in the Line by Harry Belafonte, and I had kids jumping around the room with joy, shaking containers of sugar cubes. And it sometimes is hard to hear the perceptions from the community, which I completely understand. Greenfield was in a different place a couple years ago at the middle school. People were fleeing the middle school because of, different things that were happening, but that's changed. We are sort of leading the pack as far as the growth that's happening in this district and the progress that we are making. And a lot of that comes from not only what we're doing inside the classroom, but outside of the classroom. The 5th grade has a huge hand in all of the community events that we have been putting on over the last 3 years. And it just is a really good place to be. And I know that we are used to 5th grade being at an elementary level, but we escort them everywhere. They do not have to do anything by themselves. We coach them and support them in becoming independent and being able to advocate for themselves and to stay organized and learn how to, do homework and all of that. We are so careful in everything that we do, and we are a very caring team. So I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I do hope that you take into consideration all of the things that Superintendent Pat Node and Stephen Sullivan are sharing, because they are putting so much time and effort into their considerations. I feel like you could tell me, Karen, that we were going to build a school in the sky and I'd be teaching 13th grade, and I'd be like, sure, sign me up. When? Because I have so much trust in the decisions that you're making. So that's really all I have to say. I hope that you, my time's up, so I'm just not going to finish that sentence. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Luke Martin. I live in Greenfield and teach at the high school. I have kids in 2nd and 4th grade. First, I'd like to thank the superintendent for a budget that represented the true cost of educating students. Nobody expects a rubber stamp from the mayor or the city council, but as a teacher and a parent, I for one, am grateful for a superintendent who first thinks and who first prioritizes what it will actually take to educate our children. Anyway, as I was shocked as everyone else to hear about the mayor's new plan for our schools. I was shocked as a parent who closely followed the more than 2 years of meetings, forums, research, planning, and preparation to implement a change for next year. I gave input whenever possible in that process. I advocated for my kids' best interest, as so many others did as well. Only to hear recently that it may all be thrown out the window in favor of a plan that absolutely nobody had proposed or considered, or even a whole new process to reconsider everything yet again. all while my 9-year-old daughter wonders where she'll go to school next year. I was also shocked as an employee because I was here 10 years ago when the new school was designed and built, and the mayor's suggestion that we can fit 788 kids into that building didn't sound right to me. Sure enough, a 10-second Google search revealed that it was built for 585 students, not 788. So where did that number come from? It came from the NESDEC report, the consultant you hired to analyze possible reconfigurations of our district. So I'd like to remind folks that that very NESDEC study proposed 4 feasible options for Greenfield, none of which included cramming the middle school into the high school. Mayor DeZorger, it is dishonest at best to cherry pick one number from that report that you like and then ignore the report's actual recommendations. About that number, though, it's from page 79 of that report, and they also state their assumptions, which were 25 kids in every room at every hour of the day. That means teachers sharing classrooms. That means teachers on carts without their own desks or resources or a place to do their planning or grading. And what happens when 40 kids need to take my history class? We have one class of 25 and then another of 15, and what do? Because we need 25 in each room. We fill it with 20 more kids doing something else. It doesn't make any sense. What about lunches? We would need 4 or 5 lunch periods. It means the first one probably starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. Any of these issues would have been more than immediately apparent in any conversation with a staff member or especially the superintendent, if there had been any conversation. So my point is that we may be able to fit physically 788 students into that building, but we cannot educate 788 students in that building. I guess if we're not planning with students' education in mind, but only cost savings, I can probably solve all your problems right now. The cheapest option, just fill the auditorium with 1,000 kids, give them a Chromebook, hire 4 or 5 of us to supervise. We'd save millions. Your budget crisis would be over. Kids won't learn much, but right now it does not feel like that's our main concern. Nearly done, if that's the timer. We've put a tremendous amount of time and resources into this process of reconfiguration. Please stay the course. No magical reshuffling of people and buildings is going to solve a budget crisis. But restarting this process, what it will do is create uncertainty and anxiety and flight. Parents won't keep their children in a district that sees those kids mainly as a financial problem to solve and not as developing humans to educate. Parents want stability. Parents want to know where their kids will go to school next year. Please stay the course. Implement the plan that the entire community has already agreed upon. Thank you.
Good evening, Pamela Goodwin, taught in this school system at Pioneer, Mohawk. I could go on and on about my years of an educator. I want to first say that every year we have a problem with how to fund education. This has been going on since 1971 when I was hired here, and it was called a junior high and not a middle school. So also through a bunch of my years of education, including classes with people who are working on their master's degree, teachers would be asked, you're not teaching the 6th grade anymore. We're going to ask you to teach the 3rd grade. And you have your whole curriculum, you have your whole thing, and then all of a sudden, oh, now we're going to ask you to do this. And that usually comes from the principal in the school, not necessarily the school committee. So when we talk about stability for kids or teachers, I think we need to think about what causes the instability, like the state not funding the chapter programs. That's not going to change. And Doug Swellen wrote a wonderful email that I saw that said you have to have your school districts band together statewide because you do care about the emotional and physical well-being of the very child that you're educating. I don't know if you saw it, but I'm happy to send it to you if you'd like, because he is right on, and he has been up in front of you people on a steady basis, which I have not done. I will also say that the mayor proposed something, and the last school committee meeting I attended, I was thrilled to, in the round robin, which surprised everyone, hear various school committee members saying they were willing to think outside of the box. There were some other ways to look at these things, and yet nothing was proposed because they know they're not going to get the majority. It's like the majority of the people aren't going to go with that particular idea, this particular idea. So if closing the middle school and doing what the mayor proposed is such a nasty thing, there's all kinds of other proposals that have been coming out from what I can tell, and I'm not on the school committee, but there are other ways to reconfigure things. And I get that parents want to know what their kids are going to do. I think Mohawk is trying to figure out what they're doing about Holloman. Like, this is an annual occurrence. And I have been pink slipped so many times in April that I get how upset everybody is, including parents who thought that this is what's going to happen. I think at some point we have to say, put on our big girl pants or big boy pants and face the music and think together, as we have been talking about, a team effort. From the school committee to the assistant superintendent to the financial director, what can be done in a timely fashion that's going to house X number of children, and then think about where else the belt can be tightened. Nobody wants to see teachers and TAs laid off. It's a fact every spring, and it has been since 1971 when I started educating. And I don't do that anymore because I'm well past retirement. Thank you for your time. I know you're going to come out with a plan that helps kids. That's all I care about. And I don't want to disparage the superintendent because we've had a number of people saying what a wonderful job she does. But there's money somewhere. Maybe it will grow on trees. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment in the room? Please come forward and say your name and the town where you live.
My name is Kirsten Kinsmith. I am a resident of Brattleboro these days, but I was a Greenfield resident for 20 years. I continue to be a taxpayer, and I've been a teacher at the high school, a math teacher, since 2003. I didn't plan to be up here. My Apple Watch is discouraging me, saying my heart rate is about 120 right now, so please bear with me. I'm very invested in this community as a parent, as a teacher. Two of my kids graduated from Greenfield High School, and we lived through that 2006-2007 insanity. It was a battle in my house to keep my kids in this district, and I won that battle, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of them, and I'm proud of this place. But I'm very concerned with the instability that's been caused and continues to be caused by the recent uncertainty around redistricting. It seems like we studied the plan, we agreed on the plan, we had another vote to affirm the agreement on the plan, and yet the plan still continues to be in flux. I'm really concerned that this is going to lead to more exodus by students, families, perhaps educators as well. I understand the budget challenges, at the state level, at the federal level, at the local level. I realize that they're there. We all understand that. We all realize there's a possibility that programs or positions will be cut, and that there's certainly a need for thoughtful planning, and as the previous speaker said, thinking outside of the box. But I think it's imperative that this process includes Superintendent Patton. She is the most competent superintendent, educator, human, one of the most competent humans that I've ever met. I've known her for 15 years. I've known her as a colleague, as a principal, and now as superintendent. And I just hope that whatever conversations are happening include her as an expert, because as Luke mentioned, making these proposals based purely on numbers doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I have a small calculus class. We have 9 kids in class, so there's 15 extra desks, but I can't fill them with 7th graders. Okay, so we just because we can hold the students in the building doesn't mean it makes practical sense the way that our school works, the way that schedules work, and I think you really need to include some of the folks who know how these things work in the conversation. And I think it's frankly insulting not to. So I hope that moving forward, we can collaborate as a team, right? We're all on the same team, and not make any quick decisions. I understand for next year, the way I see it, we've got two choices: move ahead with the current plan or maintain status quo. But coming up with some third option doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now. It's April. We've usually run schedule scenarios by now. We can't do that because of the chaos that's happening. So I hope that it can be settled and that all the stakeholders can be invited to the table for those conversations. Thank you for your time. I'm gonna go take a breath now.
Anyone else in the room who would like to make public comment? Anyone on Zoom who'd like to make public comment, you could raise your hand, your digital hand. You could put a note in the chat. I will look for you. I'm not seeing any requests for public comment from Zoom. Thank you very much for sharing your views with us. We'll now hear the report of student representatives to the committee.
So it is my understanding that this report is included in all of your meeting materials and it is posted to the public as well. So with that in mind, I will not be reading the report tonight. I feel that it is only going to serve to distract and detract from a lot of the messages and stories we've heard from educators and from students today, and I think that that is the most important report that all of you could be hearing today. So what I will be doing is jumping to the final item, which is student life, where we are going to be highlighting Nate Woodard, who is a member of the city's Human Rights Commission. He is a co-founder of the Students of Color Club, and he is a recipient of the Martin Luther King Jr. Award. So Nate Woodard, would you please come and take the public comment stand?
Hello.
Hi.
This is loud. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very happy that I was received the award. I remember when I first came to the district, I was a fourth grader coming from being homeless for 2 years. Miss Goodwin was my principal, and I was loved by so many people, and I continue to be loved by so many people. With Miss Patnode and Mr. Sullivan and Miss Pollock and Mr. Martin, everybody that's here tonight, I love them all because they support education, and it's very important. These two young folks are very important too. We as city officials want to hear from the youth. And that is one thing that I am pleased to say and very happy to say, that I'm very excited to hear from the youth today because their voice matters, not someone from the street, but their voice matters for what they're gonna see for their country and what they're gonna see for their district. And it's very important that you, the people, you, the mayor, could stand up and speak to those students. Will be very appreciative. Next Monday, I'll be receiving the award. Very classy little get-together, I guess. I'm very happy for what I do with the marching band as drum major, with the vice president as Students of Color group, with the youth leader at the CTC Youth Coalition at the FERCOG. I'm very happy for what I do. People tell me I should probably stop doing things, but I really don't know what I would do if I stopped doing what I do. I'd probably be bored and playing video games like everybody else. But I'm very happy to see everybody here supporting me. And so, yeah, I'm here to answer questions if needed or comments.
Questions or comments? Member Sexton and then Member Childs.
I just wanted to thank you again for being here. I know I've run across you at a couple of other events outside of school committee stuff, but we love having you in the district. You're a bright spot. And I hope you do continue to do all of the work that you do now and into the future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Similar to that, I want to compliment you on how much you do manage to get done, and also thank you because what you're doing matters to so many people in the community. So you're an excellent example of what Greenfield can and does produce. So thanks for keep on being awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. one thing I will also say is that my grandmother passed away about a year ago, and she was a big, powerful person in my life. She always taught me of how to speak on my mind and how to be a better person and how to be a nice person. And for me, the one thing was to be involved in everything, because not only was it making other people happy, it was also representing my brothers, who are 2 students of the district who are in 6th and 7th grade and who play sports, and they play basketball, and, you know, do they get annoying? Yes, they do. But they are the light of my life, and they support me through everything, and my parents as well. So it's very important that today, as you heard from all these teachers and these 2 wonderful students who are here, that education is very important. And actually, we wouldn't have teachers or superintendents without students. So let's think about that. You know, so I just want to make that very known and very clear. So thank you. Appreciate everybody.
I have some questions,
Oh, sure.
if you don't mind. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what your experience has been like on the Human Rights Commission and any overlap you see between the commission's work and the Greenfield School Committee.
So I was elected in October. I was elected vice president about a month or 2 ago. I guess my work is really amazing. I get to hear from people all over the city about what they want in their community. I also think that it's very important to with the school committee is to have, like I said, youth voice is very important. And for me to be a youth on a city official board is actually cool, and it's very, amazing. So I feel like if we had more space and more time for students to potentially be a member of the school committee or potentially be a member of the economic committee, those are things that you're going to need in the future to see and hear for what people are actually going to want to hear. Because to be honest with you, youth hear more than adults. They hear it every day when they walk in the hallway. They hear it every day when they go to the store. They hear it every day when they do a jog around the track. They hear it from other people. And for me to be there and representing them is amazing. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, yeah, number Deneve.
I used to see you every day as I dropped off a bus of very loud children at the YMCA. And every day you would get on that bus and you were able to, they'd immediately listen to you and you were able to gather them all together and they really looked up to you. So it seems absolutely fitting that you should be the one winning this award. And congratulations to you. You're always on the go and it's wonderful to see the things that you're accomplishing. So congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
While folks are still here, I'd like to move up the item about the donation from the Donna Woodcock Trust. So I think I'm just going to say, let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead. I'm not going to do it.
Okay. While so many of my GHS colleagues are here, I wanted to be sure that you were here for this agenda item. I'm going to cry too, so I apologize, but I will forever be grateful to Donna Woodcock. She's the reason I am in Greenfield today. She was the principal at Greenfield High School and hired me in the summer of 2010, along with Miss Creek, a history teacher at the high school still, and Miss Pollock, our librarian. I still recall our first new teacher meeting with Donna. It was just the 3 of us, and we had never quite met anyone like her, and yet we all grew to love and respect her. She was a strong, fearless leader who loved Greenfield to the core. Every decision she made was made with the best interest of kids at heart, always. She was a fierce supporter of women in sports and how being part of a team built character and strength and camaraderie for our students. She was also a very dedicated supporter of school libraries and what a powerful impact a school librarian has on the culture and success of a school. In life, and now after her passing, her legacy and commitment to Greenfield High School community remains steadfast and true. In your packet this evening, you will see Donna's last will and testament included donations to the GHS library and 9 different GHS girls sports teams to continue to uphold the value and importance of all of these areas that impact students in such positive ways. Thank you.
I'd like to hear a motion to accept the donations totaling $46,000 from the Donna Woodcock Trust to the Greenfield High School Library and sports teams as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I heard a motion from Member Sexton and a second from Member Goodwin, and appreciate Member Childs as well. Any discussion? Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Yes, Chair Johnson-Musad,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton,
Yes.
Secretary Geneva, I'm a yes. Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
Member Martini?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll move on to the reports of the administration, starting with Andy, our business manager.
Good evening, everyone. You have in your packets the monthly report for April 2025. I'll walk through again the highlights that we have now as we continue, especially a hard push on end of the year review of encumbrances and purchase orders. And you have a summary as to what it is that we're looking at for a balance to cover any other end of year expenses that are not necessarily encumbered as of right now. Just as an FYI, for example, we had a meeting with Special Education Director Messing. There are going to be coming down the road some special education expenditures, primarily in the area of equipment and materials that he needs to purchase in order for us to maintain what's called our maintenance of effort. So those are going to be forthcoming that are not necessarily reflected in here as of right now. So that balance that you see at the end will be reduced by those purchases as well. I can answer any questions you might have on the report, and then I can go through. There was another chart that I included in there for information purposes as well.
Member Goodwin?
I just have some questions about revolving accounts, Sandy.
Yes.
I'm hoping you can answer those for us. One of the things, can you tell me how much currently is in circuit breaker?
Oh, that is an interesting question because there is an error on the circuit breaker revenue. The town has posted 2 receipts of $317,213 has been posted twice. So that needs to be reversed out. We've been in touch with them regarding that. So if you give me a second, I will tell you, once I back that out, how much is in there. But also, if you were to look at, and this kind of a sneak preview of the chart that I showed. So hold on a second here.
So are you saying the state paid us twice?
No, I'm saying that the town posted 2 monthly revenues, and
Gonna
so
get excited,
it's a misposting. There are
Oh,
2, so.
I was gonna say, take it and run.
Sorry, I just had the report up and it's missing. So as of right now, it's $1,415,112. But then if you look at the cover memo, there's still another just under $600,000 that's going to be reclassed as we normally, we do 2 reclasses of special education tuitions, one time sometime in the middle of the year, and then one time as we get closer to the end of the year. And in addition, we will get another quarterly payment from the state.
So when you say reclassification or reclass, what does that exactly mean?
It goes, again, the practice here in Greenfield for when we've been here and when Mr. Barber was here and Mr. Nemberkow was here and stuff was that they charge everything, we put everything to the local budget first.
Okay.
And then come periodically 2 times a year for circuit breaker, we reclass expenses that were put to the local budget into the circuit breaker
Shifted.
revolving account. So that's what we do.
Okay, okay. And the SPED revolving account, not the circuit breaker. See, I always knew about circuit breaker, but I didn't know there was another special ed revolving account. So how much is in that one?
There is $1,001,901.15. Then again, we are planning on, as of right now, $703,934 of expenditures to come out of that have not yet been charged to that.
Okay, and the school choice revolving account?
I can read it off here, but it is in the report. But the school choice is for everybody. As of right now, it's $907,708.76, with again projected use of $300,000 for FY25.
Okay, and transportation revolving account?
Transportation revolving account. $1,003,598.98 with.
So the math teacher in me, the number person in me, sees, $4 million in revolving accounts, which are gonna be, I hear, reclassified there are things coming out of the local budget that are gonna be, I'm getting that. So I guess I sit here as an educator and as a taxpayer, and I wonder why people are worried about losing their jobs. And I wonder why people are hearing about cuts when there's $5 million that is sort of floating out there. And that's why I'm asking this question for you.
So if I may clarify, this is where if we could go to the chart.
Sure.
Because when you look and see, we have this planned out for 2 years, for FY25 and into FY26. When you look at the funds that are available out of those accounts that you listed, those are the primary revolving accounts that we have available to us. We are reducing our available balance of all those funds by 27%.
Okay.
Starting, so yes, it is the balance that every organization, a school district, municipality has to do. It's no different than hearing what the mayor is saying about the fact that as she released her budget book, they are not using stabilization or free cash for FY26. We are planning to use for FY26, $2.2 million of reserves already available to us. We're reducing the funds we have available to us in the neighborhood, 27% from what we're starting 25 with to what it is that we're projecting to use for FY26.
So here's the confusion. I just want to, you can help me understand. So in the budget for this fiscal year, there was a request for $1,714,846 for transportation out of local funds. But in the revolving account for transportation, there's $1 million. So you're asking for local funds of $1,700,000. But in that revolving account is $1 million. So I guess, to me, and this is just, as a person who looks at numbers, I'm seeing you asking for an amount, $1.7 million, and then holding on to $1 million in a revolving account. So as a taxpayer, I'm going, I want to give the children and the teachers everything they need, everything. But there's still this money that, why are you asking for it when there's already money that has been generated somehow for transportation, transportation? So if you're asking for the 1.7, you receive that in the budget from local funds. I guess I'm seeing every year there's like $4 million left in revolving accounts. And I'm hearing you say you're reclassifying it or taking money from there. I did ask the mayor to look back over the last couple of years, and I was very proud that she didn't charge me $25 an hour for information. And I found out that there's always, like in circuit breaker, and I understood your point of view, which is you kind of pay it forward.
Are you close to your question, Member Goodwin?
I need to finish this. So that there's always over $1 million in circuit breaker for the last 3 years in the revolving account. There's always been $800,000 in the SPED revolving account for the last 3 years. There's been $500,000 in the school choice revolving account for the last 3 years. And in transportation, we've gone from $261,000 to $723,000 to over $1 million in the revolving account. And I hope that's because of the fleet of vans, because the original plan was for those to be they were supposed to save us money or at least have us break even in transportation. And then there's also ESSER money that still exists that hasn't been spent. And so we met with the superintendent, we heard about cuts, and I guess there's this money. Why are we cutting things like Strings for Kids, which is $25,000 when there's all this money sitting here, and cutting things that teachers need? I would say that in the past 3 years, I know things have been cut from our schools that this money could have paid for. I like to think of my tax money going to the children and the teachers in the classroom the year I pay it, not 3-5 years down the road. So I guess I'm asking, this money has been sitting there for the last 3 years, not being used. And if it's a rainy day fund, the rain has come, is what I'm saying. That's where I'm at.
Mr. Paquette, yes,
Sure.
please.
So we need to take the circuit breaker off the table because
Okay,
that's
that's fine.
statutorily required as to what it is that we're allowed to carry over.
Okay,
And that's what it is that we adhere to.
deal.
Regarding the prior year, that goes to, again, I'm going to say, the practices that have been in place here, even when we haven't been here, the 2 times previously, and even when Liz Gilman was the business manager, when Liz Gilman went over to the city side, was if indeed there was surplus available in the local budget come end of the year, the practice is, and in the May meeting of May 2024, the mayor asked the question of me as to what is the order in which we spend our funds? And I answered, we spend the local first to try and conserve and save what it is that's available. So to say that the quote-unquote money is quote-unquote just sitting there belittles the practice of what it is that we are doing. We are doing sound fiscal practices that I'm hearing the mayor and Mr. Nemberkow saying they are doing on the city side as well. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. We are statutorily allowed to do what it is that we are doing. Now, to go to the discussion as to what is it quote being used, the reason why we had the balance as we did at the beginning of FY25 was because of the ESSER funding and because of the fact that one of the outcomes of ESSER was to, as we all know, to address the learning loss and things that came to light in school districts out of the pandemic that weren't being addressed even before the pandemic. But an outset of it was that they wanted school districts to then therefore use the ESSER funding to help build up their reserves to have available to them when the ESSER funding goes away. This is exactly what it is that we are doing. At the end of FY26, 27% of the balances that we have available out of those accounts that you bring up
The 4
are going to
million,
be gone.
Okay.
And we're hearing from the mayor, and I don't disagree with the mayor on the fact that FY27 is going to be worse. So if we were to use the full 1.8 million just to get us to level funding and stuff, that gives us to a projected balance available to us for 6/30/26 of about $600,000 combined in all those accounts. Because we're ending the year with projected now of FY 6/30/26, if you go to that chart, of 2.5 million. So reducing it by the 1.9 million because it's 1.88 million for the level with the budget that's being presented. So 1.9 from 2.5, that's $600,000 when if you look at the plans that we have for use in FY25, 2.2 million of those accounts are to be used to offset FY25. Our FY26 budget is built on 2.2 million. Going into FY27, we would only have $600,000. That's creating the gap that the mayor is already talking about on the city side. What we are doing is sound fiscal practice of management at the same time to balance the needs of the district for FY26, FY27, and beyond. There's no shenanigans here going on regarding what it is that we're doing with these revolving accounts.
Any other questions from any other members? Member Deneve?
Andy, I have a question that might be really silly. It's just a question about the chart. Your percentage change, are these just positive changes? Is this a positive number?
No. Negative, yeah. Brackets,
Negative, okay.
You're higher than member Sexton.
Thank you,
Yep.
Math was a
Right.
while
So
ago,
again,
thank
like-
you. So these are negative numbers.
Right, if you look and see, but I want to, it's worthy of going account by account. In 2 years from our school choice balance that we're projected to use at the beginning of FY25 to the projected ending balance as of FY26 is a 48% decrease in the funds available in school choice. Circuit breaker, even though again it's statutory regarding what it is and how it is we use it, is a 3% decrease from the beginning of 25 to the projected end of 26. Transportation is an increase in funds available for it. And that is mainly because, as we've reported out before, we had the Kosmeskis overbilled the district on a run that wasn't included, so we had a credit, which is why when you look at this chart, there are no expenses that we have coming out of the transportation revolving account. Again, the all funds approach, we could have allocated 200 grand, 400 grand out of the transportation revolving account. But with the credit, we chose not to then help us out in future years for transportation. And that's a 7% increase from the beginning of 25 to the end of FY26. The total of that overall is a 27% decrease in the funds available out of those accounts that are being used for FY25 and projected FY26. It's
Thank
worthy
you.
of repeating.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just want to make sure I was reading this correctly. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Any member who hasn't had a chance to ask a question yet?
I have one.
Okay,
I have a
we'll go to
question.
Mayor and then to Member Sexton. Go ahead, Mayor.
So Andy, thank you for explaining some of that. And I see that you have a chart here on what you planned to do. Okay, so what you planned to do this in 26 and 27. So we don't know what will happen with that yet. But
25 and 26, Your Honor.
25 and 26, yes, okay. Well, you plan to do that in the rest of 25 and then in 26. So I want to go backwards though, because we also planned to use this was part of the budget process, and you said this in meetings, 300,000 from special ed revolving. I have this here in front of me for fiscal year '24. Did we use that?
No, we did not.
And did we use it the year before?
I would have to double check on that, but I'm going to say possibly not. You're asking a question, I'm imagining you already know the answer, but I can explain why if you'd like an explanation as to why.
No, I don't need to know why. I just
But I
need
do
to
think
know
I
that-
actually, with all due respect, I
Pardon me
am
for
going to
continuing.
explain why. So here's the
Okay,
issue
well,
that happened in
pardon me for
those years.
Continuing my,
What-
my sentence. Could I just finish my sentence?
Sure, and then I'll answer it.
I'm sorry. My point was that we say that we're going to spend that, and we may. But the past couple of years, we were told that that was going to happen. And it did not, as far as that one went. And that one has over $1 million. And I'm delighted that we have a wonderful reserve in the circuit breaker. I think that we're going to need it. And I'm glad that we have a reserve in the special ed revolving. I just think that to have a chart that says that this is what would happen, if I drained my whole bank account, I would be down to zero tomorrow, but there's no guarantee that I'm going to do that. So I'll let you finish what you wanted to say.
Okay, so the reason why when it is, and I go back to the workshop we did where we went through I did the thing on budget management and the financial management. The cliche I like to say is a budget is a plan and plans change. And what ended up happening in the past years was that we wrote the ESSER grants for specific purposes that when they did not come to fruition, we had two choices: amend the grant, or we turn the money back to the federal government because we didn't spend it all. I don't think anyone here would want us to turn back the money to the federal government. So we amended the grant, and we did what I remember I called the legitimate shell game of moved expenses that were originally planned from whether it be the local funding or one of the other revolving accounts. We moved it to the ESSER grant to fully expend the ESSER grant and therefore free up money in the local budget or these other revolving accounts to use as statutorily allowed. I need to state that over and over again, as statutorily allowed to do what school committees can do with these funds. We did. And it allowed us the flexibility to, again, have the beginning balances in these accounts that we had for FY25. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, come the closing of FY25, some of these things may end up looking differently as well, either up or down. But it's the nature of ed reform that gives school districts the flexibility to do this. And that is exactly what it is that we are doing. It's sound fiscal management under the auspices of providing the best education we can currently and going forward into the future. So yes, previous years, absolutely there'd be changes. But again, it is worthy of repeating, and this is Andy on repeat. It is worthy of repeating that this has been the practice of the district, even when we haven't been here, to fully expend the local budget. And if there's any funds available at the end of the year, I went back because I anticipated this coming up. I have found emails between Liz Gilman and the business office and myself about the fact that she's bringing to our attention, even though we knew it, that there is a balance that is left in the local budget. What are you going to do with that? So it's a practice to zero out the local. And as I said to you, Mayor, your question in May of the 2024 meeting, I told you the order we spent it. I took grants off the table because the grants are spent in accordance with the parameters that the grant was written. Then we spend the local first, which is why, as I'm a broken record, every report that I give to say, we charge everything to the local first. So it's local first, grants in accordance with the grants, and then revolving accounts as needed. So absolutely, we have a plan to use the revolving accounts, as you're saying, this $300,000 that keeps being thrown out there. If we didn't need to use the $300,000, then we're not going to, and we're going to carry it over to use in subsequent years. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that being done on the school side, as there is nothing wrong with it being done on the city side.
I'm going to continue. I have another question, if I may, Chair Musad.
Yep, go ahead.
So I'm curious about the transportation the receipts, where the credits were actually from.
Yes. I know you sent that about 4:30 this afternoon, Mayor. I was
Yes.
able to get that. If you got a pen, get ready.
Yes. Yeah.
$35,502.50 was from Conway. $28,655 was from Frontier Regional. $9,025 was from Deerfield. $59,422.50 was from Gil Montague. $19,620 was from Pioneer Valley Regional School District. $42,900 was from Mohawk Trail Regional School District. $27,134.64 was from Athol Royalston Regional School District. $2,400 was from Springfield. $5,400 was from Pittsfield. And then the balance of $65,525 was state transportation reimbursement for homeless. That totals $295,584.64.
Thank you, Andy.
Member Sexton?
I have a question, which hope is unrelated to anything we've been talking about. And then I would like to also make a comment just about what's being discussed. First, I'm just noticing $22,000 additional for the Federal Street School elevator. Is that more than what we budgeted? Do we need to approve any of that?
So we did approve the base contract increase because the bid came in higher. And then what you have in addition to that is there is a change order that is required because the state regulations regarding I'm going to really above my pay grade, but the casing of the elevator needed to be changed due to the timing in which the repairs were being done versus what the original rules were statewide. So that required a change order. As you can see from the report, we have the funds available to cover that. So that's what that is for.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
So do we have an estimated timeline about that elevator? This gives me hope that it's actually progressing, which is great.
Yes, it is progressing. Timeline, I would have to get back to you on that since Mr. Nemberkow, since this is a capital, he's overseeing that. So
Great.
we can find out.
Thank you. The comments that I just have to make about this discussion of having balances or not, and whether or not that is a good thing for us to do, I can't help but hear your comment that as a taxpayer to the city, you had hoped that your tax monies that particular year would go to that year's expenses. But I just can't think that that actually is sound fiscal practice. And I don't actually think that it would be possible to have your tax receipts and your tax expenditures happen all at the same time. The timeline of how things happen just doesn't work that way. I also am thinking about, the question of for a school committee, we love all of our kids right now, and we love all of our future kids just as much, even the ones we don't have yet, the ones we hope to have, the ones we plan to have in the future. And it is our job to plan for them right now, even if they're not the students who sit at our tables with us or who are getting the awards or are lighting up our fourth grades. We are planning for the fourth grades 5 years from now. The ones who might be in AEL, hopefully, or the ones who are coming into AEL. And so I don't think that it is prudent for us to completely drain any reserves we have now and shortchange those future kids. I don't see that that is going to be a solid move for us, especially if we know, or we can suspect, or we are even being counseled by other members of our own committee that the future years are going to be worse than they are even right now. And so it is prudent for us, I think, to continue to have some funds available to us to lessen the damage as it gets thrown at us. So that's sort of how I'm viewing that particular practice. Thank you.
Anyone else who hasn't spoken yet? I'll speak or ask, I guess, because just as a reminder to members, we're actually not deliberating about the budget tonight. it's not on our agenda. We're currently on the item on your agenda, Business Manager, Fiscal Year 2025 Year-to-Date Budget Update, Budget Reports Review. So questions should be related to those items. I guess, Mike, I just have a question. Mr. Paquette, if you could remind us whether you are available for us to ask questions to you in advance of public meetings.
I'd be more than welcome to.
Okay, so if we have like good faith questions about revolving accounts and the ins and outs of them and how they work, we can pick up the phone and just call you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Member Goodwin?
I guess we put a budget forward, the superintendent puts a budget forward every year. For the last 3 years, there's been 4 million in revolving accounts each time that budget is made. When that budget is made, I think as a taxpayer, I have the right to know that there's 4 million sitting in a revolving account. Whatever you want to call it, whether it's rainy day money, whatever, but not knowing that there's $4 million sitting in the school accounts when you're asking for more money each year is offensive to me. It is not good practice for the taxpayers in this town who are requesting transparency. We want to know where our money is going. So I would ask that that is included in every budget going forward that is presented to the public, how much money is sitting in accounts not being used, because it's not fair to be asking for additional funds. And it's also not fair to teachers and students to know that we're getting a cut, we're gonna cut music, but we have money
Member
sitting.
Goodwin, I think that we've heard these comments before. They're not particularly on topic for the question. I'd like to move on. Does anyone else have items related to the current item on the agenda?
I do.
Mayor DeSorger.
This is my last question for Andy. In any of the other districts that you work at, or just your opinion, do you think we should have a policy on revolving accounts? Have you seen that in other schools?
All revolving accounts are governed by Mass General Law.
Mhm.
So I think it's Chapter 44. I would have to check. Some of them might be under different ones. So I would say statute dictates what it is as far as that, whether or not you want to have a policy, but I'm going to, some specifics. I mean, you're not going to use your transportation revolving account for anything other than transportation. You're not going to use, school choice technically is to be used to offset the expenses for educating kids that choose to choice into the district. There are some allowable exceptions to that. So it's all dictated by the statute that governs each of the revolving accounts. As to a policy, I've never seen a policy per se as to use or anything. I have seen committees talk about the practice of only using prior year balances for next year receipts, always having a year in arrears. And the goal, quite honestly, is to have maybe 2 if possible. I've also seen a percent where along the lines is similar to cities and towns. Free cash is used to be a 5% cap. That's what I've seen in other places too, that they hold the school districts to the same standard or whatnot. So long answer, Your Honor, is it varies.
Mhm. I think in the past we had a policy, and we no longer have it, that's, included what the suggested balance is. So I just wanted your opinion on that. Thank you.
Any other questions besides from me? I have one. The amounts in our revolving accounts are in the reports you give us every month, right? Am I missing something?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so we actually do know how much is in the revolving accounts. It's not being hidden from anybody.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. So thank you very much for clarifying that. I think I had another question. No. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to the report of the Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning.
So tonight's report just includes two topics. One is, again, Title I supported events upcoming. We have some vacation challenges. The elementary schools are doing Busy Bee vacation challenges. At GMS, they're doing a bingo challenge and also a Read Naturally challenge. So Title I is supporting students both in continuing their literacy and math development, even when they're on vacation. We appreciate the interventionists and teachers for encouraging students to participate in those and supplying incentives for such. Also have a grants update. Pleased to report that we recently received a $35,000 equipment grant to support the development of our advanced manufacturing innovation career pathway at the Greenfield High School. I'm optimistic about a innovation career pathway designation based on that, but we have not heard officially about that. I had hoped to be able to report on that tonight. We also received an the Investigating History grant. There are updates being made to that HQIM in the 7th and 6th grade curriculum, so this will support teachers in understanding and internalizing and implementing the changes to the curriculum. And we are about 10 days away from launching our second Acceleration Academy during the April break. Again, it will be focused on literacy. We have approximately 20 students in grades 1 through 4 from across the district who are signed up to participate, so looking forward to having them back.
Thank you very much. Superintendent?
I have an update on the Restorative Practice Committee. The Director of Behavior Services, Sherry Pekarsky, has been leading the work along with the Collaborative for Educational Services. The committee's had 3 meetings thus far and have been working really hard. They're also going to be joining the Franklin Regional Council of Governments Full Coalition meeting this week and talk about all of the initial steps that Greenfield Public Schools has taken thus far, and they're being recognized for the hard work that they're doing. So I just want to thank Ms. Pekarsky and the committee for the work that they've begun. You'll see an enrollment update from March to April numbers. And I just want to highlight that, as many of you know, we have not had a SIMS database manager for quite some time, that our former person had resigned in November. And we have recently hired someone who has really been a rock star, boots on the ground, getting things in order. And one of the things that we've been doing is just trying to clean up some of the errors that have been left behind because of no one in that position. So when you see the decrease to Greenfield High School, it's actually celebratory, because many of those students were January early grads and they just weren't coded accordingly. So I didn't want anyone to think that it was just a mass exodus. The other shifts have just been, we had a student age out, and we've had a few that have moved out of state. And then at Discovery, you'll see we had an increase. We actually had a student return from homeschooling. So just wanted to document that. And then last but not least, been getting many calls on kindergarten registration, especially with all of the inconsistency on what we're doing with redistricting and where folks are going to enroll their kindergartners. So I think we can hopefully put to bed some anxieties tomorrow, but Newton School will be having a open enrollment tomorrow night from 4:30 to 6, and then Discovery will have one next Thursday at the same time. But you can always call central office if you have a kindergarten that you need to register, and we can certainly help you at central office as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the Assistant Superintendent and Superintendent? Member Sexton.
Can you tell us more about this advanced manufacturing pathway that we're working on?
So this year, we received a grant to plan a pathway, and essentially the way the innovation career pathways work are you have 2 technical courses that are related to the industry sector, 2 advanced courses, and then it leads to either a 100-hour internship or a capstone project. So if we receive the designation from DESE, that allows us to begin this work next year, but it's like a building block. So we would start with 9th grade and then build each year. So it's not like next year, all of a sudden, we have the internships and the capstones, but we would begin recruiting immediately for students who might be interested in advanced manufacturing, anything. We've looked at equipment from milling equipment to crickets for like t-shirt and graphic design and things like that. So we're trying to be thoughtful about having a variety of options as we build it up. But the pathway also doesn't keep students from taking other courses of interest. So it is different than a Chapter 74 where you're really in that industry. This, you're dabbling in it, and if you're interested, you could take additional classes or pursue additional internships, but you can still take other electives and other courses that you might be interested in.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
And I also just wanted to, Superintendent Patton, would love, whenever this restorative practice committee gets like a shared definition or there's some other substantive, would love to invite folks to come and share that with us, either through you or, even have other people as well come and share the good news.
Happy to invite them. Thank you.
Great.
Any other questions or comments? Questions, I mean. I just wanted to appreciate you, Superintendent, for meeting and spending so much time one-on-one with school committee members this month, and you've been making it a regular practice, which is new for us under your leadership, to have someone taking an initiative in our direction and giving so much time to one-on-one connection with us. So I wanted to appreciate you for that. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion from Member Deneve, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Member Childs. Any discussion? Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Hold on a second. Yes. Chair Johnson-Musad?
Yes.
Member Sexton, Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
Secretary Deneve, I'm yes. Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
And Member Martini?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. For our next item, I have prepared some comments, which I'm trying to find right now. They were here not too long ago. Here we go. So our next agenda item is redistricting. And we've reached a crossroads where our redistricting plans are coming up against new data and new financial challenges. As a school board that is always focused on the best interests of our students and our citizens, we need to be able to adjust in these fluid times. In light of the mayor's proposed reductions in the school budget, the superintendent met with school committee members individually to discuss the impacts of this reduction. The discussion focused on two things primarily. First, what is the best path forward for the 2025-26 school year, considering the timing of this change? And second, what is the most efficient and sustainable path forward beyond 2025 to 26? We are fully aware we need to pivot as the landscape is very different now. We have two needs this evening: how to best move forward for the 2025-26 school year, considering the current budget realities. We recognize any changes could significantly impact our students, staff, and families, but we also want to be cognizant of the decisions today having continual impacts into the 2026-27 school year. Considering all that has changed in the past few weeks, we may need to entertain an option that minimizes disruptions to students, staff, and families while maintaining support and services aimed at meeting the needs of all GPS students. Secondly, so I guess I'll stop there and make a motion that we can discuss, and then you'll see, depending on what comes of this motion, there's another motion around and some other framing around redistricting and reorganizing ad hoc committee. So the motion would be to continue with redrawn lines with a hold on moving any grades out of their buildings for the 2025-26 school year. So, and this is based on that we did do significant work on 2 areas of redistricting. One was the grade changes, but the other really significant and important one was redrawing the geographic lines for greater equity. So I would like to hear a motion for us to consider continuing with the redrawn geographic lines with a hold on moving any grades out of their current buildings for the 2025-26 school year.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Bring it up for discussion.
I'll second for discussion on that.
Okay. I'll say a little bit more. It's just that I think that if we're not expecting enormous increases in funds for the year after this one, we're actually expecting it to possibly be even harder. I think that there were many problems that I had with the mayor's statement and certainly with the number that she put forward to us. But I think it is true that given these numbers, the concept of keeping all 5 schools open looks pretty untenable to me. So that's why I think we need to take a fresh look at redistricting in light of the new economic realities that we're faced with and the enrollment trends. Any other discussion, questions, comments? Member Deneve?
So I am the current chair of the Redistricting and Reorganizing Ad Hoc Committee. And we are pulling for a meeting to happen shortly with the mayor, myself, Vice Chair Sexton, Superintendent Patnode, and Stephen Sullivan. So I believe that it is the correct practice according to our handbook and our policy manual to have those discussions begin in their subcommittees and then bring them to the full committee. So we are going to have agenda items where we bring forward out-of-the-box thinking ideas to that meeting. So I guess I'm just making that as a statement more than a discussion option, just saying that we are going to discuss it in the same careful, thoughtful manner that I think that we did before, and we'll have some ideas and options to bring to the full committee.
Yeah, and I have 2 responses to that. The first is just that the school committee needs to give you all a charge as a subcommittee to actually take on a project. So that's part of what tonight's discussion will lead to, hopefully, would be what is the school committee actually asking you to do as an ad hoc committee. But we do not have time for the 2025-26 school year to engage in a long deliberative process or even a short deliberative process. The superintendent and the school committee leadership, the school leadership needs to know, and parents and families and students need to know basically tonight what is happening for the 2025-26 school year. We can't really wait any longer on that. And so the proposal is to continue with redrawn geographic lines, but to put a hold on moving any grades out of their current buildings in light of the fact that we may need to look at closing a school and that none of our redistricting plans involves that possibility.
Do we have any information about the economic, or the financial implications of doing that?
Superintendent, can you speak to that? I think it's basically what our current, I mean, the financial implications are, we're gonna have to create a budget that meets whatever comes out of the city council after the mayor's proposed number. And that's gonna involve significant cuts, and the cuts could be here or they could be there, but it all depends on what we decide in terms of whether we want to, whether we think it's responsible to continue forward with our full redistricting plans, including moving students around in terms of grade levels to different schools when we are in a period of financial and enrollment uncertainty that makes it look likely we might have to close a school for the 26-27 year. And so then why would we move all those people around just to have to change the plan again the following year? Member Goodwin?
So I know there was a second. I was hoping for a vote so the people who are here would have an answer to the question and all the families would have an answer to the question. So I'm hearing leaving the kindergarten redistricting the same, but putting a pause and everybody remaining where they are currently to give the district a year to look at the possibility of closing a school. That's the motion on the table, correct? Is it?
Correct, yeah, I can reread it to you. The motion is to continue with redrawn geographic lines with the hold on moving any grades out of their current buildings for the 2025-26 school year.
Second, third?
We have a second. We're in the discussion period, so just checking to see if people have questions or things they want to share before we vote.
Chair.
Yes,
Chair.
Mayor.
So I heard an awful lot of people talk tonight, and one in particular is sticking with me, the teacher who'd go teaching up in the sky in grade 13 if it happened. I'd like to hear from the superintendent if what she, because has so much experience here, what does she think this is our best move for next year? I'd like to hear from her.
Superintendent?
So with the unexpected reduction to the proposed budget that I put forth in the $1.9 million range, that offers significant challenges for us, and considering the amount of time since July 1 that we've put forth in building a budget based on the option 2B. Adjusting to this new reality, it is essential that we consider carefully what the impact of all of these budget reductions is, not only this year, but in the years ahead. And while we understand there is declining enrollment and a redistricting model is not cost neutral, we really want to talk about stability for the district and providing that for folks. And if these budget cuts are ultimately going to lead to school closures in 2026, which seems to be a very real possibility, the current redistricting plan seems not viable or chaotic, and what I'm getting every day is just people wanting stability and knowing what's happening for their students and their families. I know that the work that we do every day, regardless of the decision you make tonight, will be for the best interest of staff and students, and we will continue to make sure that the engaging, the comprehensive, and the experience that our kids get is not only fiscally responsible, but educationally sound and supports their needs. And we will figure out how to make it happen, because that is what Greenfield educators do. And we want decisions that'll at least lead us in a direction where there is not such instability and people can feel that we are supporting them.
Member Childs?
So speaking as a parent of a Greenfield student, I am comfortable with the 5th grade at the middle school, even though 5th grade going to the middle school does seem scary. And I'm comfortable from experience for the same reason why I wish 8th grade would move back to the middle school so that he could stay there longer. So that I do find a little sad from a personal note. But the amount of labor that we would be asking teachers to do if they're going to move now and then next year move again and possibly year after that move again, that's not sustainable for teachers that we already ask so much from. So I'm sad that we can't move the 5th and 8th grade back and have the plan cost the same as it would if we're not moving them right now. So numbers and heart are at war for me here.
You other questions or comments? Secretary Deneve?
I was just curious about the job losses that we discussed at the last meeting. Maybe I don't have them correct, but if we do the redistricting that we have planned with the budget cut in place that we're faced with, we would lose 19 jobs, right, as opposed to 25?
But you're using more of your savings reserves because you needed the additional teachers at the middle school. So you're not comparing apples to apples, but in order to run the plan, you did need additional teaching staff.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that I understood that. Okay.
Other questions or comments? Or Sexton?
Yeah, so just for the audience watching in the room and the audience listening at home, we school committee members did have access to certain budget implication information that was not presented tonight in our files because the reasons that I were given was because it might change and because it is of a sensitive nature, i.e. it talks about you, unfortunately. Not you personally, I don't think that it talks about any of you who are in the current room, but that it would be painful for you to see. So I just wanted you to know that we are not making this decision out of nowhere. We all did see certain financial information. I do wish that it had been here, knowing even that it would have been hard. It still seems more transparent that way, for me, from my perspective. And so, again, I want to be clear from you all that neither one of these choices saves us money because we are being cut a certain dollar amount no matter which way we decide to go. And I also want to say that when you hear 25 jobs lost, I need you to know that that is unit positions. That is not you sitting in this room. These mean that some positions are going unfilled, which means you might not be getting the support you desperately need, unfortunately, but it is not as if we are turning 25 people out away from employment out on the streets. So I really want to be clear about that with you all. It doesn't make the job any easier because we know that you need that support. Like, we know that we wouldn't have been asking for those positions. We would not have them in our budget if we didn't need them. But unfortunately, we are going to have to go without for certain positions in order to make this budget tenable. It seems to me that we're either damned if we do, damned if we don't, in either direction, but one of them uses up more of our savings that we might be able to use to cushion for the future and potentially stave off further losses. And that, for me, means that I would support the proposal that is currently on the table to leave status quo, except for the redrawing of transportation boundaries for kindergarten. So that's, yeah.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? I'll just make a comment that as soon as you get that number in the mayor's budget, you know you're headed for really devastating times for our educational community. And I know that the mayor didn't necessarily want to make devastating cuts to our educational system. She's in a situation with insurance rates that can just go up by, double digits with no transparency, and I think, from my own perspective, fueled by a pharmaceutical industry that's making a fortune. So then, if we're looking at basically devastating cuts, regardless of which way we go, if we pause on redistricting, do the geographic redistricting, and take a look at this basically brand new environment that we're in, I think, both in terms of enrollment and in terms of budget, I don't think it would be responsible for us just to continue as though 26, 27, we're definitely going to have the same number of schools. And that is what all the 2.5 years that I was here for doing that plan, it would all assuming that we would have 5 schools available. This one hurts. I don't like making this motion. I appreciate the members for making the motion and seconding it and discussing it. I hope that as a nation we can pivot to being a country that prioritizes educational funding so that district after district doesn't have to be making these heartbreaking choices. So with that, I guess I would like to hear the vote. So just to repeat, the motion is to continue with, on redistricting, to continue with 3 drawn geographic lines with a hold on moving any grades out of their current buildings for the 2025-26 school year. Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson-Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
Secretary Deneve, I'm yes. Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
Member Martini?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned, the redistricting and reorganizing ad hoc committee doesn't meet unless the school committee or the superintendent has a need for them to meet. And clearly with this vote tonight, we do need you all to meet to address how the loss of 30,000 students from public schools across the state continues to affect Greenfield's enrollment numbers and how we plan for the future, to accommodate future potential reductions in the school budget, and to maintain the geographic redistricting GPS is already done while minimizing disruptions to families. If the committee agrees, the re-envisioning our schools ad hoc committee, which includes school committee members and Mayor DeSorger, will work alongside the superintendent to identify the most sustainable and efficient path forward for our schools in light of our current challenges. So there's 2 motions I have for you tonight on this ad hoc committee. One is basically very slight language change to the functions and duties documents for the redistricting and reorganizing ad hoc committee, which basically is, as presented, it just changes from recommend changes to redistricting policy. Instead, it says recommend changes to redistricting plan to the full committee on an as-needed basis. And in one other place, it changes the word policies to plans, just to make it clear that this is not part of our school committee policies. It's part of a strategic plan we made basically as a committee. So I'd like to hear a motion to approve the revised functions and duties document as presented.
So moved.
Motion from Member Martini. Is there a second?
I'll second it to bring it to discussion.
Okay. Any discussion? Changing word policy to plan? Member Sexton?
I don't have a specific comment about that in particular. That's fine for me. But I would suggest we revisit the second bullet point where it discusses who actually can convene this ad hoc subcommittee. if it is true, as we are saying, that we are going to essentially have to do what the prior ad hoc committee did, but in half the time, then I think that it would be prudent to give the chair the opportunity to call the meeting, not just to have us as a full committee have to vote to say they can meet, or only have Karen have the option to call the meeting. I think Elizabeth should be able to have the right to call that same meeting.
Can I just respond to that?
Yeah, of course.
Just that the next motion is basically where we're going to charge the ad hoc committee with the project. And yeah, I agree if that I don't think that language was meant to imply that each time the committee wanted to meet for an individual meeting, that they would need a vote by the full committee. I think it just meant that the ad hoc committee was essentially dormant for a while, except by a charge of the school committee, and that is what the next motion is, for the school committee to ask or tell the ad hoc committee to do a project. Does that address that concern at all, or?
No, maybe I'm just being particular, but an ad hoc subcommittee means that it meets until it's no longer needed and then is gone. It's essentially temporary. And having now been the chair of several ad hoc subcommittees, I do not and have never been aware of not being able to call a meeting of your ad hoc subcommittee without being told that you could by the full committee. So if that is in fact the case, then we need to perhaps discuss that and make sure that that is outlined in the policy in the handbook.
We, as a committee, approved this current subcommittee functions and duties document, except for the change to the one-word policy to plan at prior meetings. So I think that certainly would be happy to have the ad hoc committee, in addition to the work we're tasking you with tonight, on the redistricting, to also put forward recommended changes to the functions and duties document. But just to be clear, this is something that this committee has voted on in the past.
Can I?
Yep, Member Sexton?
I think that's why I'm sort of asking about it, because the last time we did vote on it, I was the chair that was basically being told I couldn't call my own meetings at that time, which I did note. And that was the reading at the time. So if the reading of that wording has changed, great. I fully support that. And would be very happy for that to be the case. But I do just want to clarify that that is what's happening.
At the time of the meeting, the ad hoc committee did not have a charge either from the full committee or from the superintendent. So subcommittees, all subcommittees basically do work that the full committee tells you to do. And so, no, there should not be meetings of ad hoc committees when the work that the full committee has charged you with doing has been completed and a new charge has not been given. So that's the purpose of that language. And the purpose of tonight's vote is to say, thank goodness, we have a redistricting and reorganizing ad hoc committee already existing, because now tonight we as a committee can charge you with taking on a project on behalf of the full committee and to report back to us and bring us that work. But becoming a member of an ad hoc committee is not licensed to meet whenever you want for whatever you want. You have to actually be told to do something by the full committee. You're an agent of the full committee, essentially. Member Childs?
So the re-envisioning our school facilities committee was not an ad hoc, or is it this ad hoc? I'm a little confused. I might be scrambling things. So I wanted to make sure I had things straight.
Sure. So each year, the chair puts forward a list of committees and committee assignments. And now that we're trying to adhere to our committee policy on providing lists of functions and duties, we're doing that work as well. At the time that I formed the redistricting and reorg, I basically took the re-envisioning schools and renamed it Redistricting and Reorganizing. And, yeah, so it's basically, and.
So it is the same one?
Yeah, it may be
Okay.
different people. I can't remember who was on it last year versus this year. This
Oh,
year, the
it's-
current members are,
Different people. I was just trying to figure out if it was the same committee that we voted on under that name or not. That was where I was confused. So thank you
Yeah.
for the answer.
yeah, we don't have another one called re-envisioning anymore. Yeah. Any other questions?
I just have a comment, had my hand up. So I'm going to vote in favor of this, but I do remember what Member Sexton was saying, that this is a little difficult. That's why I didn't even know that we had this new thing, because we actually wanted to keep going, and that wasn't how it came out. So, but I'm going to kind of put that behind, because it's time to move forward, but
I'm glad, Mayor, because, we all voted together on the assignments of this committee, including the one with your name on it. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm going to vote in favor of this. I'm just
Great.
was validating what Member Sexton was saying. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And just to say that as a chair, I'm pretty proud of how I encourage every member to have a chance to speak, how open I am when members email me and ask to have items on the agenda. I've put items on the agenda which I did not like, and that I did not think were a great use of our time as a committee. So if anybody, if you're on the redistricting and reorganizing ad hoc committee and you think there's a need to meet, you want to be put on the full committee agenda so that we can give you a charge, by all means, email me. I'm happy to put that on the agenda. We can discuss it, and the committee as a whole can determine if we agree that that project should be taken on in our name. Okay, so any other discussion on the revision to the functions and duties document?
One last question. So I read it online in advance, but I didn't have it in my packet. Is it in someone else's packet that I could just look at the text of quickly? Thank you. I'll walk around. I just like having it in front of me for this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you not have it in yours either? Last thing I had in mind was that collaborative, so we can look at it together.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Secretary Deneve?
After we vote, can I add something to new business?
We have an item on the agenda for new business. Yes, we can discuss that at that time. Anything else? Okay, Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson-Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Abstain.
Secretary Deneve, I will also abstain. Member Goodwin?
Abstain.
Member Childs?
Abstain.
Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
And Member Martini?
Yes.
Okay, passes.
It does?
With, yeah, because abstention is saying that you're not
Oh,
participating.
okay. Thank you for that point of clarification. Appreciate that. All right, it passes with 3 votes. Let's see, I'd like to hear a motion to charge the Redistricting and Reorganizing Ad Hoc Committee with revising redistricting and reorganizing plans to include the elimination of 1 or more schools in light of reduced budget and enrollment numbers.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Member Childs. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Is that description as read, does that mean that any plan that this committee or this ad hoc subcommittee puts forward must include a building closure?
Let's see. I think we might want to revise it if you're having that question. I think that we want you to, my intent was that the ad hoc committee include in its deliberations the possibility of the elimination, but not that we are necessarily charging you with eliminating one or more schools.
Okay, good. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
I have a question along those lines. Glenn,
Yes.
would you accept a friendly amendment to add the word possible as a
Gladly.
possible elimination to that
Yes.
motion?
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's very helpful. I appreciate it.
And we'll-
Wait, I asked someone else to make the motion. That was Member Childs who made the
I
motion.
enthusiastically accept adding possibly.
Okay.
Sorry, Member Childs, I mixed that up.
No, it's fine.
And who seconded it?
Stacy, it was, you seconded it. Okay, thank you.
You're okay with that? Okay, great. Okay. Any other discussion on that motion?
Does that include a specific timeline? Based on our earlier conversation, it seemed as if the sort of target date that we are working toward is that anything that we would recommend would be effective in the 26-27 school year. Is that accurate? Is that the timeline we're working against?
The charge does not include a timeline, so it's really.
Yeah, I was just thinking about
the plans have already
comments
been.
from earlier parts of the discussion tonight.
I guess it would, do you want to do a friendly amendment to say?
No, I just wanted to get more of your thoughts.
My thoughts?
As you were putting forward this, I just wanted to clarify what is being included and not.
That we're not looking at anything beyond geographic redistricting for 2025-26, and that the committee can recommend anything it wants for 26-27 and beyond.
Okay, but we're not being asked to put forward a report by that time.
There isn't a request for a report in the motion, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Doesn't stop the committee from, requesting certain deliverables from you in the future, but as of now, you have a pretty broad mandate. Okay. We ready to vote? Secretary Deneve?
Chair Johnson-Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
Secretary Deneve, I'm yes. Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
Member Martini?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. I have another motion on this, which is to charge the redistricting and reorganizing ad hoc committee with putting forward any recommended changes to their functions and duties. I'll make that motion myself. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor DeSorger. Any discussion? Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Hold on a second. The motion is for,
To charge the redistricting and reorganizing ad hoc committee with putting forward recommended changes to their functions and duties document.
okay. Who made them,
Glenn and Jenny.
Glenn and Jenny, okay. Okay, all right, sorry, yes. I got it, thank you.
Okay. And will you call the vote?
Yes, Chair Johnson-Musad.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Goodwin. Member Childs.
Yes.
Mayor DeSorger.
Yes.
Member Martini.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. It's 8:30. I guess I would propose that we keep going through new business and then take our break between the new business and our executive session. Does anyone have a problem with that? Okay. Any requests for new agenda items for future subcommittee school committee meetings? Secretary Deneve?
Yes, I would like to have us all look over the functions and duties of subcommittees.
You mean you want to look at all the functions and duties of the committees that have been presented and approved by the school committee already?
No, let me see how to phrase this. I want to make sure that we understand how ad hoc subcommittees work and have that crystal clear and put in our handbook and our policy.
Okay, maybe we could just vote now on charging the policy subcommittee with taking a look at that and coming forward to the full committee with a review of that?
Yes.
Okay. That motion was clear as mud, though. So I guess I'll try again.
Sorry.
I'll move that the school committee charge the policy subcommittee with reviewing our policies on ad hoc committees.
Great.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Member Childs. Any discussion? Okay. Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Hold on a second. Second was Childs. Okay. Chair Johnson-Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
Member Martini?
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Any other requests for future school committee business items? Secretary Deneve.
I'm sorry, this isn't a new business item. I just realized that I do have a very, very short legislative report. Could I give it very quickly?
Yes. I think
Seconds or
you're-
less?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we can consider an item unanticipated.
Thank you. We have the Day on the Hill coming up on May 6th, so if anyone on the committee would like to attend, you will need to get on the MASC website and register yourself and bill to the district, and then come and talk to us as we are putting together a group comprised of school committee members from various different districts. We had a meeting on Monday night at the Collaborative, Zoom meeting, and we made plans to make appointments with various legislators, and we identified the things that we wished to discuss that was most top of mind. And we expect to be there as a large collective contingent. So if you would like to participate, please register and reach out. And tomorrow is the YELO conference at the high school, the Youth Engaged Legislative Officials. And Vice Chair Sexton and I will be present and talking to the youth, and we will bring back a report on that.
Thank you very much. Member Childs.
So can any of us show up and join you there, or is it really just you guys that will be there for that?
You would have had to have said
They sent a sign-up sheet out.
Please please activate your mics. And
Oh, sorry, I didn't see the sign up. I only saw what day it was, so whoops, my bad.
I am sure that if we could give you the email and you could email the AmeriCorps volunteers, and they would probably be very happy to have you involved.
I think we can handle it offline from there.
Yeah, we can talk about that after the meeting. I'll give you the email.
Any other new business? Okay, great. I'd like to hear motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. 3, to discuss with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. And 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. The committee will not return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Member Sexton, and a second from Member Deneve. Any discussion? Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Goodwin? Yes. Member Childs?
Yes.
Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
Member Martini?
Yes.
All right, it's unanimous.
Okay, and now we'll move to adjournment. I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Motion from Member Sexton, a second from Member Goodwin. Is there any discussion? Secretary Deneve, will you call the vote?
Chair Johnson Musad?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sexton?
Yes.
Yes. Member Goodwin?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Mayor DeSorger?
Yes.
Member Martini?
Yes.
Unanimous, we're adjourned.
At 8:37 PM.